Good morning. This is the Daily Wrestling News for January 11th, 2021. My name is Ryan Joy, and I am, as always, coming to you live from Minutes to Bell Time Studios on the beautiful Treasure Coast of the Sunshine State. And I am joined today by the Essential Wrestling Podcast Senior Impact Correspondent, John DeConnie. John, good morning. How are you?
Good. Glad to be aboard. Thanks for having me back.
How was your weekend?
Not bad. Lots of football, a little bit of wrestling sprinkled in. Always a good thing. How about yours?
Well, I'm coming off of going to a pro wrestling event with my mother-in-law for the first time. We went to Coastal Championship Wrestling. It's a regional promotion here in Florida. We had Cha-Cha Charlie and Emilio Costa on the show over the last couple of weeks to talk about homecomings this weekend. New Year's resolution was last weekend. So with that, I have updated my resume, and of course, headshot on the front, and on the back it says, able to make new wrestling fans. The quote from my mother-in-law after the show was, "Oh my God, I loved it." And she already talking about going back in March when CCW makes their return to the Treasure Coast. I am rocking their merch this morning as well. So good time as always. Homecomings this weekend. So if you're in Florida, check that out. Neilio said, if you have a car and you're within 3 hours, you should be there. And if you don't have a car, you should steal a car. That's what he said. So there you go. All right. Today we have quite a few things on the agenda. We're going to talk Impact Genesis. There's nothing on the docket for Raw tonight, so we may take a quick stop there, but pretty much fast forward through that. We're going to talk about Bayley on the Broken Skull sessions. We've got the news. We've got trivia. And trivia today, John, is 2020 Impact in Review. So I'm feeling good about your chances there. I think that's another solid category for you. So
should be.
All right, let's get the show on the road. All right, today's ridiculously random non-wrestling audience needs to know you better question of the day is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Pick'em. It's a place where you can join or host a Pick'em league to test your predictive skills in the world of pro wrestling. Create an account and join a league now at ProWrestlingPick'em.com so you can play against your friends or play against the universe. On the subject of that, John, Al Carl, 3 shows last week, nailed them all, perfect across the board. You and I went 2 for 3 in those shows, but Al picks perfect on New Year's Smash. He picked perfect on NXT New Year's Evil and Impact Genesis. So I guess he's going to get a perfect plex tomorrow when we cover that on the Essential Wrestling Podcast. But the ridiculously random audience needs to know you better question of the day is, what is your favorite color? And that might seem a little kiddish, but maybe not when you consider Taz's loyalty to orange, the power Bret Hart gave pink, and how much Steve Austin could do with the color black. So, John, what's your favorite color?
I'd have to say it may be a little cliche, but probably black. I remember, in terms of clothing, I remember going out one time in my mid-20s, and I showed up in a pair of, kind of beaten up, not acid wash, but, well-worn blue jeans. And one of my friends just looked at me and went, "You're not wearing black jeans. What gives? I don't think I've ever seen you in blue jeans."
That's funny. If you were to go into my closet, you would just see black shirts, blue shirts. When I was working corporate, all my collared shirts were blue. But informally, when I wear, just around the house or pretty much everything else, is a black wrestling shirt. So there you have it. So it's blue, but then, black for clothes, I guess. All right, so let's talk Impact Genesis. John, what do you think? Scale of 1 to 10 on the show.
It's certainly above average show. It was a good show. I'd say I'd give it about an 8. I really, really had an issue with the ending, but a solid show.
So the way I kind of look at this one is more than the last few Impact Plus specials, this did feel like a Impact Plus special, right? They didn't have I mean, Moose is kind of, I guess, one of their top guys, but they didn't have a loaded card. It was mostly the Super X Cup, mid card type talent, or independent talent for that matter. And so it was kind of not a loaded show, but the main event was good, less the ending, right?
Yeah. The main event was, I mean, if you wanted brutality out of two big guys, this was everything you could ask for. There were some positively cringeworthy spots. I mean, the table spot off the turnbuckle to the outside where Willie pretty much missed the table and cracked his head on the diamond plate and somehow came up with a little blood on his elbow, but somehow didn't crack his skull open. It was everything you could want out of two big guys beating the hell out of each other, except for the ending.
Yeah, exactly. That spot did scare me. I mean, that was a good match, but that spot scared me. Protect your neck, man. So the Super X Cup 8-man tournament opening round: Ace Austin defeated Suicide. Blake Christian defeated KC Navarro. Cousin Jake beat Davari. Crazy Steve defeated Trey Lamar. Anything in the opening round really stand out for you?
I think KC Navarro, as far as those who didn't move on, I think he's got a little bit of the it. I reacted to him kind of the first time I saw MJF. Like, I hate that guy, and I think that's what he's going for. So he's doing a good job. I could see him perhaps coming into the company and seeing him, and Blake wrestle quite a few times in the future and not get bored, I imagine.
That's true. Yeah. The second round of the tournament, Ace Austin defeated Cousin Jake, and Blake Christian defeated Crazy Steve. And I noted that finish to that Blake Christian and Crazy Steve match of 450 with Crazy Steve draping over the ropes. That's kind of an interesting thing. I've never seen that before. So,
absolutely, yeah. That was a very eye-catching move.
Right. And then in the finals, Ace Austin defeated Blake Christian. That was a pretty good match. Good showing for Blake Christian. I don't know that they've signed him, but they've certainly gave him a spotlight on the show. So,
I kind of, you have the feeling that if they're smart, they were well into negotiations with him, and hopefully they will lock him up, because they certainly let him put his best foot forward. He certainly had a great showing in those three matches.
Right. He beat Crazy Steve. He outlasted Cousin Jake in the tournament. So, all good there. Now, the only match we haven't talked about: Jordynne Grace defeating Jazz. Fun match. Good showing for Jazz. She's clearly on the final loop of her career, I guess, and feel good moment at the end. They hug and stuff. It was just a roll up for the win. Any other big notes there?
I thought, we talked about this last week. Jazz is old school enough where she would put over the younger talent. I thought it was odd not to take the younger talent's finisher. I thought it was a little slightly lackluster ending, but it was good for Jazz. May she enjoy retirement. A lot of great memories out of her. So,
yeah. So of course the big show coming up is going to be Hard to Kill, and I think we've talked about that show on this show before, and as we get closer to the weekend, we'll bring it up some more. But any big matches on that show that you're like really? I mean, the main event is Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Rich Swann and the Machine Guns. Anything on the undercard that's like got your eyes like that's going to be a steal the show type of encounter?
Honestly, I'm so locked into that main event that it's kind of hard to concentrate on anything on the undercard, because obviously I'm looking forward to seeing who's going to be the first reborn knockout tag team champions.
Yeah.
And the X Division triple threat, you got to think is going to be. I really am going to have a hard time picking that one, but you got to think that's going to be one heck of a performance from those three guys.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what happens with Taya Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo. Everybody's really quiet on what Taya's contract status is. Did she resign? Is this going to be her putting over the champion on the way out the door? Is it, what's this? What's the story here? So I'm interested in that match for those aspects of it. But honestly, it should be a great match either way. So.
Oh, and let's not forget Ethan Page versus the Karate Man. I just
Okay,
can't wait. I just can't wait to see exactly how they pull that off.
Yeah, you're right. That one might be the one that steals the show. Okay, switching gears to Monday Night Raw tonight. As far as I know, there's nothing advertised for the show tonight. Coming off of Legends Night, which is too bad. But we can assume that there's going to be some follow up to the Bill Goldberg Drew McIntyre storyline, and maybe that match will get inked for Royal Rumble. So, and of course, probably more participants announced for both the men's and the women's event. But I said last week I think the Rumble is going to be a four match show, maybe 5 if they have a squash in there. But I think the big question on this Goldberg McIntyre match is not who's going to win, but how long it'll last. And do you think it goes a full 5 minutes?
If it doesn't, I'm really worried about Drew McIntyre because we all know he works.
McIntyre and Lesnar's match wasn't all that long either. It might have been 5, but that's okay. So I guess we'll tune into Raw tonight and see if that storyline progresses, if anything else gets inked for the Rumble. But really, that's all we have for Raw. But still on the WWE side of things, following Raw tonight is the season premiere of Steve Austin's Straight Up Steve Austin show on the USA Network. And I'm going to talk about that tomorrow with Travis on this show. But over the weekend, they had another episode of the Broken Skull Sessions go up on the network with the special guest Bayley this time, which Bayley, as she is on most shows, is featured right here behind me in this little wrestling buddy doll I have. Today I put her with her friend Sasha Banks. John, what did you think of the Broken Skull Sessions?
I enjoyed it thoroughly. Bayley, once again, she's doing a good job as a heel because I hate her character. But every single time I hear her speak away from, Raw or SmackDown, I absolutely love her. I love the fact that she is such a fan. And now, here she is growing up as such a fan. And here she is, one of the best in the business. I love that fact so much.
Yeah, I thought my personal review on this, I think this was one of the weaker Broken Skull Sessions, only because I've heard so much of the Bayley story. There wasn't a lot of new material. There's a great doc on the Takeover Brooklyn match on the network, and I think that actually had a lot of the elements of this interview already encapsulated. But it was interesting to a couple of things. I heard her, right off the bat, they talk about Serena Deeb, which I thought was kind of impressive. That's an AEW signed talent, but they really gave her a lot of credit for helping Bayley kind of get her start. So I thought that was an interesting storyline element for the interview. And then the other stuff was the kind of the back end, the more recent history, talking about the heel turn that she did, and then followed by, the Hell in a Cell match, and talk about her and Sasha, how they put that match together and how they wanted to, do some new stuff and not stuff that everybody had seen before. Which, by the way, they had 2 other Hell in a Cell matches on that card. So it was really tough to differentiate. But so I liked the interview, but I didn't think it was the best Broken Skull session so far.
Yeah, I think the Broken Skull Sessions are best when it's someone I think the Undertaker one was really good because there's 2 guys, they came, went through the system, went through everything together at the same time. And I think probably what made Bayley's the weakest, like you said, a lot of it was rehashed, but that's because she's grown up in front of their cameras. So they've already found 5 different ways to give us some of that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So it's almost unavoidable with the newer, younger talents.
Right. Right. And Al Carl chiming in from parts unknown with a ding dong hello.
Well,
There was one thing that actually came up during the show was them talking about the evolution of, figuring out what works. And one of the things was this ding dong hello and the interaction with Michael Cole. She said she tries something out, gets a reaction on social media, so she continues. As much as Serena Deeb on the early part of her career, it seems like the whole maturing process she kind of credits to TJ Wilson.
Yes.
So, it's one of the things, I guess, when you watch these documentaries, you find out from the current talent who they really lean on for, help and advice in the back. So TJ, I guess, was, instrumental in her development.
Yeah, and she still bounces stuff. Some stuff she bounces off of Sasha, some stuff she still goes to TJ for to this day. So it was interesting to hear.
Yeah. And then they talked about her being selfish. After all the years of wanting to help everybody have their best match and ever, now she kind of focused a lot this year on making sure that she had the best performance. So selfish in a good way, by the way.
Right.
Wasn't so I would say, definitely watch the Takeover Brooklyn documentary. That one I think is more important watch than this Broken Skull Sessions, but still good if you've got the extra hour and 20 minutes. It's good content.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So next up, we've got news, and we've got a lot of it. So let me play the bumper. Today's news is brought to you by the Body Slam Brigade newsletter. Get a free recap of the week's news, authored by me for you for free. Subscribe now at bodyslambrigade.com. Okay, news. Last week I've mentioned that Ring of Honor re-signed a whole bunch of talents, and this week is no different. Tracy Williams, Sumi Sakai, Brian Johnson all signed new contracts since we last had a show. So, it's so interesting to me because a few years ago, like 2 years ago, all these Ring of Honor contracts came up at the same time, and then we got AEW. And it seems like Ring of Honor needs to kind of I hope they staggered these contracts so that some end in, 36 months or 18, 24, so having all these contracts come up at the same time seems like really risky, but because I think this was like 10 of their top talents all in the same, 2-week span. So, and then on top of all that, Sports Hub's James Stewart reports that Dalton Castle is a free agent. And apparently Ring of Honor has extended an offer to Castle, but he's exploring all options. So, he's a former champion there, definitely a charismatic guy. It has probably lost a step. I think everybody would kind of mention that because he had a back injury, but certainly an interesting person to be on the open market.
It would be a big name for them to lose.
Yes. We've got new trademarks from WWE, almost Shea Samuels, Mansoor, Leon Ruff, and Dabba-Kato. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the almost merchandise hit the shelves. I feel like it's going to be like guitars that break on impact type of thing or something like that, or I don't know. And the just kind of just make sense. Dabba-Kato is actually a surprising one too, I thought, because he's not really on television at all, but that may go. What's that?
I guess they have some plans for him.
Well, also in the news is WWE's announcement of the Superstar Spectacle, which is a special to air on Sony Sports Network in India. The show is going to feature WWE's developing Indian talent. I don't know what Dabba-Kato's background is, but perhaps he's wrapped into, that into that special. Yeah. So the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is going to start up, and we have a bunch of teams announced. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 team tournament.
Wow.
So what's that? How does that even work?
Maybe
as far as I know, those are the teams. I don't know how that's going to work in terms of elimination, but that's the entire field, I think. I boldly predicted the Bollywood Boys will win this. Are you with the Grizzled Young Veterans? That's where John Smith, as the NXT guy, is with.
It certainly seems like they're putting them front and center. So, it'd be hard to bet against them right now. But look at the talent in that field. So nothing would really surprise me, except maybe Everrise.
Yeah, they rule. Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Kushida, Jake Atlas, Yes. Yeah, that's weird. I didn't even notice that. And Legado del Fantasma. So I mean, it's really loaded. Breezango's in there, former tag champions. Grizzled Young Veterans are the former NXT UK champions. Imperium, former champions. Fury and Furry are in there, so should be. I don't know. The tournament's fun. I think we'll have fun with it no matter what. But you might. I wouldn't be surprised if you see like a double elimination early, like maybe the Gargano Kushida is like a double count out or something like that. Yeah. No Lucha House Party on the list.
What happened there? I thought that was already a given. They were in.
Yeah, I don't know. I pulled the list off of WWE.com.
Oh well.
So maybe it's a 16-team tournament and they left 4 off.
Could be.
So, all right. Further news: WrestleMania 24 is not currently on the WWE Network. It is believed to be the reason behind that is believed to be that Floyd Mayweather was on that show and they don't have the rights to his theme music, so they pulled that down to do the editing. WWE has not commented on how long it will be down. I really wish they would put it back up because we would like to do a WrestleMania 24 specific show. So stay tuned. Nick Jackson went to Instagram to talk about having COVID last year. And this is surprising that it fell under the radar so much, but he says, crazy to think there's still COVID deniers out there in the world. I've had a pretty bad case in early September that kept me bedridden for 3 weeks. He couldn't taste or smell for 2.5 months. At one point, his whole body had hives, and the doctor said it was definitely from COVID. Matt had to do the majority of the work matches once he returned because he couldn't catch his breath. His cardio is finally back, but it took months to feel like himself again. He said, let's protect each other and wear masks. So just completely interesting to me that we didn't know. It seems like it's something that we would have just figured out, but there you go. So there's another situation where somebody had it. Straight Up Steve Austin debuts tonight after Raw, we mentioned. And then I want to ask, John, what did you think of SmackDown this past week?
Oh, SmackDown. I mean, speaking of SmackDown, I hope you got my email where I forwarded you a copy of my resume with Headshot. Headshot hasn't been updated in a few years, but I figured in honor of Billy Kay, this was the thing to do. And and as you'll see under my special skills, I understand you're a big fan of the Star Wars.
Sure.
You'll see under special skills, it does mention that I am fluent in Klingon. So Nanu, which I believe translates to use the Force, Harry.
Oh, perfect. I'm so glad I didn't have to correct you at the end of that sentence and say that's a Star Trek thing. Oh, perfect. So SmackDown, it went back up over 2 million viewers. Big E defended the Intercontinental Championship and won against Apollo Crews. We have new tag team championships with Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode defeating the Street Profits. Ends a 10-month reign from the Street Profits. But the thing that I thought was interesting, and I don't understand exactly what they were doing here, but Shinsuke Nakamura gets a submission victory over Rey Mysterio and 2 pinfalls over King Corbin and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown before he lost to Adam Pearce. Of course, there was lots of shenanigans with the Pearce thing, with Roman interfering. It'll be Roman versus Pearce at Rumble. That's a story, but it's not the story I'm interested in. Shinsuke Nakamura only won 2 singles matches in 2020, and I only consider this gauntlet match one match, but on Friday he pinned 2 of the top baby faces and probably the number 3 heel on SmackDown. Shinsuke Nakamura not been pushed since basically the AJ Styles feud following his Royal Rumble victory in 2017.
Yeah.
What's going on here, John?
Yeah. I was getting, I was kind of in the middle of 3 different things while that show was going on. So I wasn't fully engrossed in what was going on with Pearce. And I'm watching Shin, have this great performance. And I'm going like, oh my God, okay, I'm really excited for this. I can't wait for this. And then, Pearce comes out and what happened. And I'm like, so was the Shinsuke push just a tease? Because I sure like for it not to have been.
Right.
But I guess it's a wait and see thing.
Yeah, it made me wonder if it feels a lot like the Kofi Kingston angle from years, was it just last year, 2 years ago. But I don't know if it'll carry that much weight again. But if it kind of felt that way in the sense that like you put him all the way through this and then he didn't quite make it because he got, screwed.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't think there's been a big rally of fan support for him, but definitely some. It's tough when he comes off such a heel run. He's been with Cesaro all that time. But so I'm interested to see what happens with Shinsuke. I hope I do get to see a Shinsuke Nakamura and Roman Reigns match. I think that would be very unique. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I would be all in on that one. Absolutely.
Sure. So Matt and Rebby Hardy they're adding another child to the Hardy cinematic universe. They announced that they're having a baby girl. So congratulations.
Wording of that.
Also in the news of contract signing, Brian Myers has officially signed with Impact. I guess up to this point he has been working date by date or short-term contract or whatever, but he's officially with them as he announced on Twitter. Rhea Ripley, according to most news sources out there, is her main roster debut is any moment, and Damian Priest is scheduled for a Raw call-up. So let's just check and see. Maybe it'll be Royal Rumble. Maybe it'll be before then. Maybe it'll be the day after Royal Rumble. But let's just assume that both these call-ups happen. John, who's the ideal opponent for Ripley and Priest out of the gate?
Okay, so I was looking at in terms of Priest going up to Raw, and he doesn't. Not to poo-poo the big man style, but he's more than just a big man. So I'm sure there's a lot of interesting angles there. But the one name that just kept jumping off the screen to me as I look at the Raw men's roster was him and Bobby Lashley.
Oh, that is fun. Yeah. That's a fun. That's it. That's perfect. I mean, he comes out of the North American Championship title picture and bounces into the United States Championship picture. Bobby Lashley, like you said, is a different style for him to have to compete against. That could be fun. What about Ripley? Any thoughts on her?
In terms of Rhea, this is purely selfish, but all I can think of is her and Shayna Baszler.
Yeah. It's hard to not play that one back, right?
Just too entertaining the first time.
Yeah. All right, that does it for the news. John, it's that time. It is time for trivia. Let me play a number. All right, last week you went perfect. 5 for 5 with your trivia. So did Al Carl. Travis went 1 for 5. John Smith went 3 for 5. So this is week 2 in our January trivia event. Your trivia today is all about Impact 2020. We're replaying the hits. We're going to find out what you remember and what you don't remember. 5 questions. A simple majority correct will get you the W. If you win, you get the Goldberg Oscar Award. And if you lose, you get a Hawkins. So 2020 started with this man as Impact World Champion. He would lose the belt to Tessa Blanchard on January 12th. Due to recency, I'm not giving multiple choice.
That would be Sami Callihan.
That is correct, Sami Callihan. Question number 2. Rich Swann ended 2020 as the Impact World Champion. Can you remember the event where he won the championship?
Bound for Glory?
It is Bound for Glory. There were 5 X Division champions in 2020. Can you name them?
Ace Austin, Rohit Raju, Manik, Chris Bay, Jordan Grace doesn't count, right?
Jordan Grace does not count. We all thought.
Willie Mack.
That's right. That's right. In order goes Ace Austin, Willie Mack, Chris Bay, Rohit, Manik. There were 4 Knockouts champions in 2020. Can you name them?
Taya.
Okay.
Jordan Grace. Deonna Purrazzo. Su Yung.
Very good. Very good. You're 4 for 4. I'm not going to tell you how many tag teams held the Impact Tag titles in 2020 for your final question. You tell me.
Okay. I'm gonna miss somebody, aren't I? The North, the Motor City Machine Guns, and the Good Brothers.
That's correct. That's it. You're right. So.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Great job. You're 10 for 10. Who are you?
Oh
right.
my goodness.
John, any further words of wisdom as we close the show today? Or any thoughts?
In keeping with who was it, Matt Jackson or Nick Jackson?
Nick.
Wear your mask, folks.
That's a pro tip from John DeConnie. All right, folks. Thank you. Our show returns tomorrow with Travis to cover whatever happens on Monday Night Raw tonight. Straight up Steve Austin and whatever else we want to talk about. Catch you down the road.